before the net when people tried to learn the whole facts. Amazon, Bezos, monopolize the pesos. Hey, you see I'm
Welcome back for another episode. Director's Den is a chop shop here with my brothers, man. How
Hey,
everybody feeling this evening?
Feeling good, baby.
I
You
feel
know,
great.
happy
Glad
to
to be
be
back
here.
here.
I'm very happy to be here.
Hey,
We back with another episode. We gonna jump straight into it. We already done jumped into it. We talking about parenthood, fatherhood specifically. And we just gonna jump it off with this idea of how we were parented versus how that translates into how we parent our own children. Um, AJ, how you think that? Not how you think. How does that translate into your parenting? How you parent? What you liked about how you was parented, what you didn't like, and then how you carry that over, how that translates.
Hit that tagline one time. Who this presented by?
Correct.
Directors Never
Director's
Podcast.
Den
Yeah, I'm glad somebody else said it. 'Cause
What
my lips-
what episode we on?
32.
episode
32.
number
All right.
32.
My bad. Just want to get that out there.
Yes,
you know.
sir. You already know,
probably should have
man.
brought us in.
Go follow, like, subscribe. You already know what it is, man. Run it up.
Definitely.
Comment, like it, tag, share.
Also, watch our other videos. We are here for everybody. Wives, husbands, fiancés, we're here for everybody. Singles, we're here. We're talking and we're trying to give everybody, hey, everything that they need.
That boy sound like he on the late night.
Late night
Yeah,
special.
you
Gotta
are
hear the
now
music
here
drop
with
with
me.
it,
Like the next song.
do
If you driving alone,
do
I'm in the car with you. Don't hit that blinker yet. Keep going
Oh,
straight.
man.
We waiting on you.
We waiting on you.
Don't hit that blinker yet.
Don't put it in park. All gas, no brakes.
All gas,
All
no
gas,
brakes.
no
All
brakes.
gas, no brakes.
Somebody gonna blame they creeping on us now. Chop Shop told me keep going.
Right.
They
See,
told
that's
me
a
don't
sign.
stop, man.
That's
All
a
gas,
sign.
no brakes, baby. They said cut that slow music on, baby.
I'm gonna
Oh,
send you the
man.
episode now. Take me back.
Hey, but nah, just to jump right in, I think for me, you know, whoa, this one is this one touch home for me.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Cause how I was parented to how I parent. Whoa, it was different between my mother and my father.
Mhm.
Um, as my father parent me, and, you know, rest in peace, my father. Um, he was crazy, and that's the best way I could put it. You know what I'm saying? When I say crazy, I don't mean crazy as in cuckoo for cocoa puffs. I mean crazy as in my father would just he would snap at any given moment. You know what I'm saying? But I had to understand him, like going into his later part of his life.
Mhm.
That's when I really got to know my father. I knew my father my whole life. He was always there. He supported me, all of those things. But it wasn't until I was able to meet him where he was at
Mm.
for our relationship to change and for me to understand him and how he parent me specifically. Um, Me and my brothers, you know, it was always me and my older brother
Mhm.
for the most part. And my father was just nuts. He would just cuss us out. He would yell like when we was growing up in the neighborhood, we was always known as the kids who my father like would just literally like yell down the street. And he would always his favorite line was, "My house ain't the daggone hangout house." When
It
he's
is.
like or if we would get in trouble and he'd tell us to go back in the house, he'd be like, "And don't be playing that in Nindu back in the house." You know what I'm saying? When y'all get in there, don't be playing that in Nindu. But I think it taught me to be, I don't know, I struggle with this because I realized that even when it came to my own son, you know, I find myself being overly aggressive with him in moments
Mm.
that I'm just like, Why couldn't I be able to just control myself and my anger in that moment? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do why is what he did, why does it make me that mad?
Let me ask y'all this, because all three of y'all got sons. I don't. I'm a girl dad. Is there an added pressure for your son to turn out a certain way? And do you think that because that just made me think of that. Like, I feel like, even though I'm a girl dad, I was parented by my father. So me and my brother were raised not like super different, but it was very intentional that y'all not about to be no punks. Y'all not about to be no scaredy cats. Like, y'all gonna be men. Is there an added pressure when it comes to y'all sons as far as like to make sure that you steer them a certain way?
I would say definitely it is though. And sometimes it's to a fault because as a man, when you had your son, especially for me, I had two girls first,
Hmm.
so which I'm thankful for because it taught me how to be a better dad for him. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's a lot of pressure on him. For one, he's carrying my name. He's the
Mm,
third, you know what I'm saying? So, and just how people, their perspective of me automatically falls on him.
yeah.
Like, and I
Ding
ain't
ding
saying like I'm
ding.
Jesus Christ or God or nobody like that, but I carry myself to a certain standard to the point where people, when we first found out we was having a boy, they was like, "Oh, I know he gonna be the truth." You know what I'm saying? Just that type of time already. So having the balance of it could be tough at times because, like you said, you want your son to be better than you in every aspect of your life,
Correct.
and sometimes it causes you to be a little bit more stern with him in some spaces where you can kind of tone it down, or it might cause you not to be as vulnerable with him in those moments too. Like,
Mm,
which I had to learn even with my son right now. Like, he's 3 years old. Like, but I've learned that I apologize to him. And sometimes when like you said, I'm a little bit more stern, or I raise my voice a little bit louder. I apologize to him whether he understands it fully or not. I try to give him the why behind it. But yeah, him being the second man in the house, I'm trying to teach him how to be protective of his sisters and his mama, and then also being respectful of his mama the same way he's respectful of me. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? That finding that fine line, the good cop, bad cop, like, and how we kind of talked about it earlier. Like, you don't want to always be the bad cop because nobody want to hang with the bad cop. You know what
Mm-mm.
I'm saying? Don't nobody want to sit down and chill with the bad cop. In certain spaces, they want to be with the good cop because they
Mm-hmm.
know with the good cop, it's always greener over there. So yes, there is pressure, and like I said, it's unfair pressure too at times on your son, but it's just about making sure that you're able to be mindful, whether it's in the moment or after, to correct your parenting. Ain't nothing wrong with correcting your parenting, and all of us know. Like, back to the first question, like, we was all raised on that. You stay in a child's place.
Hmm.
Like, don't do as I say, don't do as I do. Like, you the kid, I'm the parent. What I say, go. I mean, I could be real, you know what I'm saying, and transparent. Like, I don't remember my parents ever apologizing to me about nothing that they told me to do growing up. It would whether it was in the right or in the wrong. It was never no apologies to no kid in my family.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'll stop right there because I can keep going on and on. I want to let y'all go ahead
But
and
no,
answer with this question.
that's a good segue.
You got two sons, E. How that work with you?
Um, man, I grew up. Let me say one thing. When I was being raised, it's definitely like that whole yes sir, no sir. Um, don't open your mouth unless you really like. You got one mouth, two ears for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Do less talking, more speaking. And I feel like my dad wasn't very. He was always there. He was a great dad, right? Like great dad. But when I feel like our family back then, they used to always say like, we want y'all to be open with us,
yeah.
but you telling us be open to a closed door because you already know what
Mm,
that is going to be, right? You are like, there's really no open door policy here. It's almost I'm snitching on myself at this
Mm-hmm.
moment, or I just take this to the grave. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, with my kids, I realized, bro, as growing up as being a man, bro, you go through so many transitions and so many things, and I try not to like reflect on so much of what my father didn't do. especially now because I know life is so precious, and I would hate for those to be the last things that I'm always pondering on and thinking on. And then also, it's my job. When I moved out the house, became my own man. You know what I mean? And it was on me to learn me, know me. I found out who I was not when I was growing up. Really, when I had to start paying my own bills and I had to start doing the things that a man does. And so through failing fast and trials and tribulations, just tests and trials, ups and downs. And so when I look at my boys, I can see where like that old school, it's like I got two sides. Like I can be very stern. I'm a man, like I'm a guy's guy, you know what I mean? Like football, you got hurt, shake, brush it off. You know what I mean? It's so easy for me to revert to that because that's all I heard growing up. But then it's like let's take a simple thing today. Inez, came inside from playing and he was just crying. I'm upstairs giving Zay a bath, and sometimes it's so easy for me to get triggered and bothered by just emotion. Even though and I forget how I was at his age. Like my dad would tell you, like, yeah, EJ, you big now, and yeah, you became tough. But you used to be timid. You used to be just like Inez. Very emotional, very tapped into your emotions. Like, he used to say, I used to worry about you. You know what I mean? But not like, because he used to be like, I feel like them men back then, they used to think, you soft?
Yeah.
Then he going down the wrong road there, brother. You know what I mean? But
you.
luckily I had 7 brothers. You know what I mean? So it was easy to always kind of mask. But I wasn't the aggressor in the group. And so, when I look at Inez, and like today he was crying and, he was downstairs talking to his mom. And, the whole time I'm like, I'm really like, I want to put myself to be the best person I can be for my kids. And that's to allow them to talk to me. And I know that sometimes, like I said, the first instinct is, man, what's this nigga crying about? Man, what are you crying? You know what I mean? Like, what? And then, he came upstairs and he wasn't even crying. And then I asked him, like, you good? And he like, yeah. And I'm like, what's wrong? He like, it's just so much trash outside. Why do people not care about the world? And man, the Bible tells us to have a heart of a child, man. He wants us to be his children. And I feel like in that moment, it was like one of those moments that I seen. I could have easily, or if I would have did that with my father, he'd have been like, man, shut up. I ain't trying to hear all that. Toughen up. You know what I mean? It was just one of those moments like, no, he really cares about something that he then got so emotional with. And I do notice, like, okay, we gonna have to work on that, right? We gotta work on reeling in the emotions, and not everything's worth crying over, not everything's this, but it also shut up, be quiet ain't the answer either. And I used to, kind of, be that way, you know what I mean? A little bit, when they first, when you groom them, they 3, 4, you trying to teach them to be tough. And they crying, you know what I mean? And you like, what you crying for? And I used to say, man, stop crying like a girl. And then my wife, she'd get mad at that. What you mean? All women ain't soft. All women don't. What does that mean? You don't even know Baby D. And it was just
no Baby D like that.
And so to me, like, it's really, I've tried to really focus and get better because I had my own issues in this area, and this is before I had a second boy. This is like just dealing with Inez, him being my oldest, him being like knowing he's very emotional, and then also I feel like I see a side of him, I see a side of me in him. Like I can resonate with it, but even it's that proudness in yourself as a man to like, you gotta like come across that bridge and you gotta be strong enough to say, son, I used to be the same way. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's really that, like, it seems so tough, but it's really not. And so, that's the type of stuff I've been trying to do more with my boys because I know how it feels to have that iron fist dad. Yeah. I know how it feels to have to feel suppressed. Like you can't talk to nobody. You know what I mean? Like I said, I got 7 brothers. One of my brothers tried to commit suicide. You know what I mean? Just like you never really had an outlet, even though we were always told you got an outlet. You didn't really feel like you had a true outlet. And so that's one of the things that I look at my wife, and I ask my wife for help on that all the time, like humbly. You know what I mean? Because I know my wife is just as stern. My wife is a tomboy type. You know what I mean? Like she could be that way. And we both had to help each other. You know what I mean? Because it's like you don't want them to be soft, but then you also like you gotta balance that emotional piece too, man. And so
Which
it's been
you have to nurture that because you have to realize, first of all, this is a human being.
yeah,
Now we get into the gender after that.
yeah,
But you first have to recognize that I'm cultivating and raising a human that is new to Earth
yeah.
and all that's going on in the world. So
Technology,
technology,
games,
bro,
school. I
all
don't know
those
what they
all
talk
those
about
type
at
of things, like
school.
you gotta keep that in mind because I was raised by a stern father. My father was born in 1941 in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is crazy. My parents had 8 kids together, 6 girls, 2 boys. Out of all the kids, I'm the most sensitive one. Like, so when I tell you I was a crybaby when I was a kid, bro, I was a crybaby. Until my dad pulled me in our dining room one day and was like, "Hey, stop all that crying." I think I might have been 6. I did not cry again, I think, until I was minimum 16.
Mm.
Besides a whooping. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, like I learned to shut my emotions off because if this my dad, if he telling me this, his word is law. So if he telling me to stop crying, then all right, all this crying.
Now I will realize that my dad did a much better job when I lost my mother when I was 12, and we had to go stay with him full time because we always lived at our mom's. And then you could see that he would try, you know what I mean, try harder. Because he realized at that point, like when you got to fill the void of mom and dad, it's tough, right? Like
That masculine
you
and
know what I mean,
feminine
like
balance is
in that
wild.
balance, and especially when he's very, very like strong this way, and he really ain't got too much bend to give. But I could say at least that like once we moved in with him full time, it did seem like he would do things to try to
To
try to
compensate.
kind of try to ease that.
Well, I have a son that's aggressive. And when he first came out, because that's how I was taught. I used to pride myself on my son being aggressive. I used to pride myself on my son being, oh, he ain't no punk. You know what I'm saying? My son to fight your son right now in the basement. You know what I'm saying? Bet
Get the
$100 that
gloves.
my son beat your son up. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
funny. Not to cut you off, but I seen it on display yesterday in the gym. Him and Dylan, they fight like they brothers, bro. But I seen A3 snap. They was doing something hooping. A3 basically did the water boy on Dylan, bro. He was running full speed, tackle
It
that
just
boy, and they was on the ground tussling, and A3 kick it up like, man, A3 is a wild boy, man.
but as aggressive as A3 is, out of my 3 kids, he's the most sensitive.
Because as far as that pendulum swings left,
Mm.
it swings right.
It does.
Because as sensitive as I am, is as hostile as I can
Correct.
be too. My
So
fault.
I agree with you when you said you pull your wife in. Because I had to pull my wife in. Because like me, I say this all the time. When me and my wife are parenting our kids, she'll say like it'll be an incident. And I'll be like, my parents used to do that to me all the time. And I turned out just fine.
But
And my
we?
wife always responds, no, you didn't. You know what I'm saying?
You
But
just okay with who you is.
not even
we just
okay.
sur-
No,
we
no.
just
We were just
survived it.
exactly. I think we were by our natural nature. We just was in a habitat that we knew that you had to survive in this habitat. You know what I'm saying? But now, you know, kids are more in tune with their emotions. You know what I'm saying? Now
Yes.
you got kids that's committing suicide. You got kids who
Yep.
can't talk to nobody. Me, as a coach, Mike as a coach, you as a mentor. You know what I'm saying? EJ, you as a mentor. You know what I'm saying? We got to think about now the things that come to us from not only our own children, but other people, kids. And look at the responsibility that we have now. You know what I'm saying? And
And you know, a lot of these kids, man, they're growing up in systems. They're growing up in a system, and like a lot of I take kids here at Pick Central. They growing up in a system where it's a facade that people care about them. You get what I'm saying? Like it's a facade. They just using whatever you have, your talent, whatever, and these kids know. Like I only reason I know that is because I've had kids walk up to me and say, I would never go talk to that person about this. They don't care.
Mm.
They really just ready for me to go off. You know what I mean? And so, like with these kids, like their knowledge and awareness is way more heightened than ours was. Like we were almost like I felt like Chac, you were saying earlier, like the whole sit down, shut up, like just pay attention, close your mouth, all those directives were just to put us in a box, to box in all your emotions, your validation, all of that. And you wonder why a lot of people in our generation, like they fell to victim to certain things because they was searching for validation that they should have been getting at home, but they really wasn't getting.
but that's even speaking to me. That's why I end up having to get a therapist.
Mm.
So
How
for
has that impacted your parenting? Because I'm thinking about getting one.
so I done had a therapist for about going on 5 years almost.
Okay.
All right. Shout out to my therapist. You know, Christina was amazing. You know, um, but that helps me realize that the things that I'm going through, the way that I'm thinking,
Mhm.
that I'm not tripping all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because as a black man, what's the number one thing that we complain about? Not being heard. So when we're not being heard, I had to resonate that with my son. You know, when he's acting out, when he's doing these things, is it because he's not being heard? You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, we have came a very long way. How also, too, my kids are in Pickerington schools now, right? With my kids being in Pickerington schools now, I ain't grow up in Columbus. You know, I'm from Cleveland. So I naturally
Mhm.
have this aura about myself just because of the way that I was raised. You know what I'm saying? I come from a city that's full of poverty. I come from a city where it's like crabs in a barrel where everybody is fighting just trying to get out.
Yeah.
But it's also too where all of us in the room could be doing the same thing. And it wasn't until I got down here to Columbus that I realized down here we can all be in the same lane and everybody's okay with it. But I'm from a city where Cleveland where we don't resonate to, oh, if you in my lane, now we're in competition.
Yeah.
You grew up on that side of town, then now we're in competition. You know what I'm saying? But again, even us as African Americans, that's where we struggle at.
Yeah.
All these other cultures or all these other communities, they come together. They
Man.
make money together.
Man.
They could do so many things together.
Man.
But when it
Don't
comes
get
to
me
us,
started on this.
come on. It's like we're afraid to help the next man. And again, that's not every city. It was not until I came down here to Columbus that I honestly could tell you. It was like it's enough space for us to be ourselves in the exact same room. You could be who you want to be. You could be who you want to be. You could be who you want to be. I could be who I want to be. And we all can thrive in the same room. We're not turning our backs. We're not batting the cheek. We are uplifting each other.
Mhm.
But then again, that's why I thank the church that I'm going to. You know what I'm saying? Like, pa- pastor just preached about this a couple of weeks ago. What'd he say? He's like, hey, we got to start looking at each other with the same eye that we want everybody to look at ourselves as. You know what I'm saying? If you see good in me, then I got to see good in you. I can't be saying, oh, I want you to see good in me, but then I turn around and don't see good in you. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact. That's a fact, bro.
Like you said, I think a lot of that too, man. Just kind of circling back. Like I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm happy with the generation I grew up in because we the middle child, bro. Like I got enough old school raising from my mama, my grandmamas, my aunties, and my uncles. But also I was in that I'm in that period of transition when it was a culture shift with a lot of stuff, just with the resources and things we have at our fingertips
Mm-hmm.
now to be able to utilize the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like some of them kids who were born in that generation after us, like that's like the parenting is part of the main problem. To be real
Mm-hmm.
with you, like it's a lot of soft parenting going on. When I say soft parenting, I mean to say
What they
enablers.
say, gentle parenting.
They enabling, bro. They
Yeah.
enabling these
Yeah.
kids to
Call it
be
what it
a
is,
certain
child.
type of
Yep.
way. Like
Yep.
it's a lot of like even when we see it like if it ain't going their way, they let them quit a lot of stuff like
Yep.
sports,
Love them.
or they transferring 4 to 5 different schools in like middle school and high school because it ain't going their way. A lot of the parents is not they not working with the teachers hand in hand, so
Come
now
on.
the kids not really respecting the teachers.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Come
the
on.
parents now, a lot of
I
them,
used to
man, they
fear my teacher.
bro,
Parent teacher conference. You ain't want. I did not
What?
want my mama walk up in
What,
that
boy?
school
You be
and she have a bad
you like,
report.
man? Hey, I don't know what they about to say because
man.
I've been wilding over these last couple of
All
weeks.
I know is
What?
parent teacher conference tonight, and I got a stomach ache right now.
Not only that, or your mama asks you, "Hey, mom, is the parent teacher conference tonight?" Nah, I think that's like next week or sometime, huh? Then you
Mhm.
know, it was always that one parent that called the house. Make sure you at parent teacher conference. I want to sit there and talk to you about
Yeah.
AJ.
That
But
be
what you
part of the
was
problem,
so
bro.
what you was saying though, Chuck, we are at the perfect blend and at the perfect intersection of that old school, but also understanding the new school and that transition though. You know what I'm saying? Like the problem is a lot of parents um are of that single parent generation that really boomed in
Mm.
like the early to mid 90s is when single parenting really took a increase in our community,
Mm.
is where there was a lot of teenage pregnancies. You've seen a lot of that stuff go up in the middle to or the early to mid 90s, and that's what shifted because their kids from what 2011 2010ish era until now, that's where you really see that shift
Yeah.
to where you see a drop off in parent teacher conferences. You
Mhm.
see, that's when you start to see you can't say nothing to my kid.
Correct.
We grew up in a generation to where if anybody in the church seen us doing wrong, bro, you got it twice. You got it from the person that caught you, and
Right.
you got it from your parent. Like because it's like I know you know better,
Mhm.
I
and I
know
know
who
you
your
know better
I
because
know
I
who
know
your
your mama
parents.
and because I know
Exactly.
your
I know
mama
who
and
your
your
mama
daddy.
and daddy is.
That
So I
Yeah.
know if they was right here and they seen you doing this, they would want me to say something to you, so I'm gonna say something to you, and then I'm about to go tell them.
right.
So I'm gonna give you a prime example real quick. So as a coach,
Mhm.
all right, I deal with so many emotions on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? So for my son,
Mhm.
I had to realize the difference between being his coach and being his dad. My son don't always need a coach. So I had to be able to come to him sometimes just as his father and let him know, hey, son, I'm proud of you. And that's another thing. I don't think we're telling these kids that we're proud of them enough. You know what I'm saying? You doing good. You know what I mean? So many of these kids, like you say, I give a prime example. If you got multiple siblings, you being held to the standards of how your sibling was. Or oh well, your brother was like this, or your sister was like that. You know what I'm saying?
Or being lost in the shuffle. That you see your siblings being affirmed, and you see your siblings, you know what I'm saying, getting that kudos and that, and then there's other children that's kind of just on the wayside.
The word I think that is missing a lot with a lot of these kids in this household, the word is cultivation.
Mm.
Mm,
And when I say that, I mean this, like, okay, big family, for example. So just because your older brother was good at this, now the expectation is for you to be good at that same thing instead of cultivating what
yep.
gifts you have
Yes.
Correct.
and making sure we put the
Correct.
right resources in that kid. What if it's art, gymnastics, dancing, whatever the case may be, because we put our kids in a box sometime because of what we was or what we see. and or what's not the popular thing to do, instead of just cultivating them to be who they are and what they love to do, and help push their passion, instead of, what I'm saying, trying to make them become something that they never was built to become in the first place.
I remember Bishop Moore when he was still the pastor. He talked about how he poured so much into his first son because he was athletic, but he really didn't pour that much into his second son because he was more into like science and butterflies and
Mhm.
outside and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the Lord really had to check him,
Mhm.
and he convicted his heart like, hey, you need to go out there with him with them butterflies and them grasshoppers and all that, just the same way you be out there with your oldest son
That's
Mm-hmm.
with the
real.
basketball, with the football. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's to circle back. That's what made me ask y'all that is, do y'all think that, and this may not be y'all, that sometimes we vicariously live through our kids
Mm.
to be like, you know what I'm saying?
That's for
I see a
100% sure happening right now.
Yeah. It's a lot of people that I can say that is living through their kids.
Yeah, I
You know
mean,
what
you
I'm
see it
saying?
at basketball
Correct.
games.
All day.
I'm not saying that you can have like a lot of energy,
Mhm.
but yeah, I even look at myself sometimes, and I'll say, I love the high school, like the life, right? You go to the games, the energy, the stuff that's there, right? A lot of sometimes that's what fuels me to want to be there. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's like, and then it's just the nostalgia moments that, like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, I remember these days, remember those days. But I think that there's some people that are really using their kid because it's a trend right now. Like, I mean, NIL, you got all this different stuff that's going on where your kid can potentially get the family out the hood a lot faster than going straight to the NFL. Let it come to high school, right? Like, I think that was probably the worst thing that could happen
For the
in sports,
NIL.
is to allow NIL to come to high school, to empower kids
Yeah.
to know that they can make that money. Because if my kid is worth that much, then me as the adult, I now look at my kid not as my kid so much, but more so as like a
An
bank account,
investment.
and invest in it.
Yeah.
Like, this is an investment that I pushed out. I'm going to help them get to where they need to be. I'm willing to put all that behind it because I know I'm getting that return back. But you got to think about, what about the dads back in the day that literally just going outside throwing the football, and that was just a thing. It wasn't no motive or anything behind it. It was strictly, I just want to throw the ball
But you know
with
what
my
the
son.
difference is? We ain't had Instagram and stuff back then.
Exactly.
We ain't had Facebook back then. So now, just because you throw the ball and you had your son or your daughter doing cone work, or you got them running, doing heel work, now all of a sudden you a trainer. Everybody is selling
Mm-hmm.
themselves nowadays. It ain't just the kids, it's the
Mm-hmm.
parents too.
It is,
You know what
man.
I'm saying? Now you selling yourself to say, okay, well, dang, his son is good. I wonder what work did he put into his son.
So do
Mhm.
y'all
Like,
think that's a result of like, okay, for example, a person that didn't have that saying, okay, I want to make sure I be that for my child, or to what you said, E, like, all right, now I'm trying to monetize off my child.
No, I think it's purely just monetization. I don't think it is so
Okay.
much, because if you wanted to just have a everyday rec with your son, you have that. That's free of charge, right? You don't have to. There's no effort that goes into that.
True.
There's no thought process that go into that. He already here. It's y'all two every day. So, but I know that there's parents out there, and when I say like monetization, sometimes it's not always money up front. I know parents that literally have bought followers, bought likes, bought stuff on IG
Mm.
to make their kid seem a certain way because they know that they may be trending a certain way.
Man, the
So
whole
it's almost like,
Bishop Sycamore. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, oh yeah, I made some bread off of Bishop Sycamore.
Man, don't get me started
That
on
whole
that, bro.
Bishop Sycamore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, bro.
but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna disagree with you. I don't think it's all. I don't think it's a monetary thing. What I think though is sometimes is you may have ran into a situation. You may have been talented as a kid yourself or as
Mhm.
a teenager, and life happened. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that life thing happened. We was having babies at a young age. You know what I'm saying? You could have got your girlfriend pregnant. You could have got in trouble. You could have got kicked out of school. Any of those things. But I think now with our generation, like Chac was telling, our generation was different because we know the work that it takes to get there. So now I'm not gonna let my son be lazy. I'm not gonna just let my son sit around the house and play video games all day. All right. I'm not, hey, you gotta find something that you love to do. If it's a sport, then let's do that. You
Mhm.
know? But also for me, I don't turn nothing down. You know, just this past couple of months, this past season, I let my son wrestle for the first time. Right, me growing up, you would have never caught me wrestling.
Right.
But
Mhm.
I'm trying to let my son see all of these different
Find his own
lanes. Find
niche.
your own
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Soccer. Only reason why I played soccer 1 year, that was in 8th grade. And that's because my soccer teacher said, I'm not making none of y'all eligible for basketball unless y'all play soccer. So we was forced to play soccer. But my son, he loves
I
soccer.
played soccer 1 year.
You know
I
what I'm
kicked in the
saying?
face with the ball. That was my last
But
year.
we also got to understand that, again, the amount of attention that these kids is getting from that what you see on the social media. Our kids, most of these kids is living through social media. You're able to see, like,
Mhm.
prime example, Blaze. Blaze is in the 8th grade and already got D1 offers, and all his father did was just push into his son workout videos, uh, flag football, contact football. He showed his work ethic. He showed how fast he was. He showed, like, and all of these kids is seeing it to now. My 8-year-old son is saying, "Daddy, I want to be like Blaze on the football field." But how do you tell your son now you don't even have the talents that Blaze got? You're not fast enough, or you're not. You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't think you tell them that they don't have the talent. I think this is the work ethic that it takes to be great, right? And it's shown. And let me go back. I don't mean to like. I don't think everybody does it for monetization. I think it leads to that. I
Mhm.
think that is a culminating result of a lot of parents. Like you do have a lot, like you said, parents that just they think that they trainers, they think that they the videographer, they this, they that, right? Like they are assuming whatever hat they have to wear to get out there versus I watched Blaze's story. His dad organically is just tapped in tune with him and wanted just authentically the best for him. Meaning he started from the bottom
Yep.
and worked his way up, and you could see the growth just
Mhm.
with organic videos. He wasn't going out there and trying to pull in the biggest videographer. He's just with his phone because work ethic can be seen. It don't have to be 4K.
That's
You
why.
get what I'm
That's what made
saying?
me ask that though. I don't know who the Blaze young man is. Shout out to him and his pop. Sound like they got a great thing going. But that's what made me ask it though. Was like because sometimes we parent out of an abundance of what was done in our life, and sometimes we also parent out of a lack of what we didn't
Come on.
have.
Come on.
So I know for myself. So like before we started shooting tonight, I was on FaceTime with my daughter. Like every time I get done talking to her, I always tell her, "I love you very much." Like that's out of a fear because I lost my parents at a young age.
Mm.
So I had to realize that one time. Like I think somebody asked me that. It's like you tell your daughter that every time. I'm like every time I depart from my daughter, I tell her that. But I parent out of a lack of the time. That part comes from out of a lack of the time I had with my parents.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So
I
that
get you.
if an unfortunate, you know what I'm saying, my untimely demise, my daughter will always remember. If I don't remember nothing else about my dad used to always tell me he loves me very much. You know what I'm saying? So that's what made me like kind of ask that is because sometimes like, do y'all see that in y'all's parenting? Because y'all, I think I'm the youngest parent in here.
No,
Like,
I'm the youngest.
you know what I'm saying? That you parent out of that abundance of what you had,
Oh,
or
you saying
parent
the
out of a
youngest?
lack.
The
You know what I'm
youngest
saying? Of
parent.
what you had.
Well, what you made me think about too is that the abundance or the lack, because it made me think about certain kids that I have that I coach, and their parents are not supportive of what they're doing.
Hmm.
Come on.
And we talked about the certain generations where it was a lot of single parenting going on. They might have been working 2 or 3 jobs, or their parents might have been working 2 or 3 jobs when they grew up. So their parents never showed up for any of their sporting events or concerts or recitals or whatever the case may be. So when it comes to their kid, they like, my parents never showed up, so I'm not gonna be showing up to all this. I don't care what you do. I got a kid. It break my heart all the time that his mother does not want to push him to be great at the sport that he loves to do. Like there's plenty of times where he got to miss practice because she don't want to bring him,
Mhm.
or she don't want to bring him for extra training. Like he's to the point now because kids eventually figure it out,
Hmm.
and he verbally says like, my mom, she don't support nothing I do. And that got to be heartbreaking for a kid, especially now. Like you said, with the social media aspect of the blazes in their fathers. You see that, but your mama don't want to take you nowhere, don't want to invest in you,
because you see
don't
the
want to.
access. You
You know what I'm
see
saying?
like it's attainable. I can touch it. And kids, like we couldn't see that, right? Like you had
True.
to literally have a strong work ethic. You
Yeah.
had to work your way up through the ranks. You
Yeah.
got to high school, you became who you were, then you went on, right? Now kids, I can show my son Jose, who loves football. That's my athletic one, right? He like every day I'm at home. I work from home. Every day we go outside, we throw the ball almost 100 times. Right now, because he sits here and I kid you not, bro. I got a video the other day. I came down the stairs. He was just watching Jeremiah Smith's workouts on YouTube. Like at 4 years old, I know that I can touch that. Especially when they're in sync with what they want to do and what they like he loves football. He'll sit here and watch Ohio State, Notre Dame national championship back to back and analyze every play. 4. And so, I feel like going back to what you're saying, that has to hurt. You know what I mean? Like if I'm a kid, like I ain't gonna say no names, but there's a kid at Pick Central that a coach walked up to and said, "Hey man, how was your day?" And he said, "Whoa, I ain't getting no trouble, coach." I said, "What?" He said, "They only ask me how my day's going around here when I'm in trouble." Like to me, for even though he in high school, that's a kid that has clear, deep understanding of where he lies in the paw print of the organization here. Like I feel like that's where we have to get to be as men, and I think close the gap on like, are you going to be there for your kid? Then really be there. You know what I mean? Like really put in the work because it don't take much at all. I love my father because my dad was an All-American basketball player. He played for Leonard McKinley, Buster Douglas. They was national champs. He ain't never none of his kids ever played basketball. Didn't force it on us. He forced you to be a man. That's the only thing he cared about. What other things that you did, and I think those are things that open up, like you said, your kid is more artistic. I look at myself, I thought I was a fair athlete, right? I thought back then, I feel like if I probably had the access they had now, I probably could have been maybe better.
Way better, yeah.
But here I am, I'm a creator at 35 years old, right? Like, I'm very far from where I thought. So I bring even my own life back into perspective. Like, I thought I was going to be in the NFL. I thought I was the next Ray Lewis, and I wasn't. Here I am. I do videos for a living. So how I'm going to look at my son Inez, who I feel like sometimes only wants to do the sports stuff for me to appease me because he feel like that's what make dad happy. But I have to work around that to let him know, no, son, you getting straight A's, you loving singing, you wanting to do science camps, you wanting to build cars and draw and all that. That excites me. The things you love excites me.
And I think that was for me with my son. It was a conversation that A3 shared with Baby B. And he went to her and he said, it's not that I don't like football, but I play football because my dad likes it. And he started to utilize our time on the football field as our time to connect. So I was talking to one of my good friends and he challenged me. He says, how about this year? You don't coach your son. Just be a dad for him. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try that. So what I did, I still coach, but now my son, he's playing his real age. I don't have him playing up no more. And I'm just going to be a dad for him, And I think once he look at me from that aspect.
You want to know why? I'm going to jump in and jump right back out. There's other people who can coach your son. There's not other people who can dad your son.
100%. 100%.
That's good.
So you had to lean in. Shout out to your mans, whoever told you that. That was a gem. because there's whatever he can get from your coaching, he can get from somebody else's coaching.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody else that can step in and dad the way that you're going to dad him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out.
So no, but I say that because even go back to the shark point, I think that's what give me that hunger to want to continue to coach these children is because it's so many of these parents who don't show up for their kids. And again, to any parent that is listening to this or hear this, this is not a shot. This is only simple observation off of my many years of coaching. Your kid needs you. And again, I'm not going to steer your kid wrong because when I coach kids, I treat them all as if they're my own son. I have normal conversations with them. What do? I do words of affirmation. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's another thing in this generation that we have to, that's been heightened more. We got to do more words of affirmation, affirm these children.
And
You know
teach
what I'm
them
saying?
how to affirm themselves every day
on.
before my son leaves. My wife started this. She was a stay-at-home mom with him for his whole first 7 years. She has him. He has to look yourself in the mirror before you leave this house. And you want to tell yourself, God's son, I'm loved, I'm kind. Whatever you feel like you is, that's what you're going to affirm yourself. And watching him, it's so crazy. The things that you pour into your kids, it just turns into being a mirror that you should be pouring back into yourself, especially on those days when I'm feeling low, and then I'm low. I'm sitting there waiting for him to leave for school, and he go do his affirmation. I look over at him like, now at 9 years old, if he could tell himself he this that, then pick yourself up, right? You gotta pick yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that's a taught thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we weren't taught those things. I feel like that's that gap. That's that middle. That's that, like you said, that, what did you say?
Middle child.
Middle child era. We weren't taught how to
I'm a middle child.
affirm ourselves.
I'm a middle child.
You know what I'm saying?
My son's a middle child, but I think that's how I'm able to connect with him. Because that middle child syndrome is real. You feel like you're not good enough. Like you said, you see where the praise is coming from the older sibling. You see where the babiness is coming on the younger sibling. And then there's you.
My dad, this was a moment I didn't even know. This was a core memory. I learned that from Inside Out. Shout out to Disney. My dad, we was at a family reunion. Man, they was just doing a free throw contest. My brother hit a free throw. My dad says, "That's my boy." I received that as, man, this nigga ain't never said that about me.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all know from that point on, I became the number one stunner in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I do, I'm trying to do it to the best of my ability so I can get that affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
All my brother did was shoot a free throw.
Mm-hmm.
So then when my father passed away, now my father passes away when I'm 17, I never get that affirmation. When I tell you everything I do it as a number one stunner.
And you know, Cleo, I used to be that way. I lost, like I said, I lost my mom at 12. When I moved in with my dad had 7 boys. And out of all of us, I was always the one that was going to be least successful. Like, I heard my dad tell me, "Oh, yeah, he ain't going to graduate college. You ain't going to college." He didn't think I would graduate high school. You know what I'm saying? And to hear these things and then to grow up in a house that's toxic, that's controlling. I literally finished my college degree in 4 years on purpose. Everything was by design. And it's led me to some good things in my life.
Yeah.
But I also had to see where I had to give that piece of myself to God.
Yeah.
Because when you live yourself unvalidated, right? And that's all it is.
Absolutely.
You were unvalidated.
Absolutely.
And
Come on,
when I
EJ.
had to like look at myself in the mirror and say, like, you really like you even now, man, when I'm cooking these tapes, I'm in competition with in my head, everybody that's out there that I feel like you ain't support me, you ain't do this, like I'm on your neck. And I'm gonna document the whole thing. I'm up all night, baby. This is what I do. But it's engineered and powered to me, that's Satan's work.
Correct.
Because all it's doing is driving division. If it starts here, it's going to be here, then it's going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I had to learn, like, and that's something I try not to do with my kids. I
Mhm.
try to just make sure that they are affirmed. Like, and anybody out there, if you got a son, you got a niece, a nephew, niece, even women, they need these babies need affirmed. They don't have
Absolutely.
nobody really pouring into them the way that they need it. And I didn't. I ain't gonna lie. I was a hot mess. And it's crazy why I mourned my mother for so long after she passed away, because of the fact, even when I moved in with my dad, and I'm still not being affirmed as a man, and my mom, I can hear all the things my mom used to tell me that you're gonna be. She taught me how to cook. She taught me how to iron, clean, all that. You ain't gonna need no woman for nothing, because you're gonna be a man.
Yep.
And then that goes away from your life, which that happens to a lot of these kids. Inconsistency of people validating them.
Mhm.
Dog, it took me through a down. I went through a down spiral, thinking I'm doing good, thinking that it's really like energizing me. This is my energy. This is how I pull. This is what I pull from. You know what I mean? Like, I pull from that chip on my shoulder. Like, somebody can say something to me, and I'm instantly the type that love the chip on the shoulder. Like, I fell in love with having the chip right here, and I try to keep it. You will try to keep it on your shoulder instead of really just giving it to God, allowing Him to take care of it, and you still move the course.
And him being your audience of one.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, like, earlier, when I said I was doing everything to be the number one stunner, it was because once my father passed away, I felt like he see everything now. So now I feel like, okay, whatever I do, he sees this. I want him to be up there in heaven, like, that's my boy. All of my brother hit a free throw at a family reunion when I was like 12. So now when I grow up, because the word says when I was a child, I thought as a child.
Yeah.
But now that I became a man, I put away childish things. So now I got an audience of one, which is the Lord. So that's where my affirmation comes from. Like now, but before I went through that process of really like through my sanctification process, I really was living for something. It was basically putting a carrot in front of me I was never gonna catch. Because you never gonna hear you know what I'm saying? Like I was doing it out of a lack. You know what I'm saying? Like, which is why I don't think that's why I affirm my daughter and I speak life into her now. I do that now because
So you don't have to come from no lack. So there's no lack.
I've
present.
benefited from the lack of other young
Yeah.
ladies not having a father in their life.
Right, because
Man.
misery love company.
The Bible shows us so many different ways, man, on how to affirm ourselves, man. And the thing that keeps jumping out, just mindfully, because we talking about affirm, and bring it back to the word, like, he tells us we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? And then and just keeping it even more further into the word, like Proverbs 22:6 tell us, like, train the child up in the way they should go, and even when they get old, they will not depart from it.
Come on.
And that train up, it's a real, I mean, obviously this is very spiritually rooted, godly rooted, but the train up part, you can train down without even knowing it.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? You can train down without even knowing it, without affirming your kid, without, you know what I'm saying, teaching your kid on how to handle these different things, on how the word tells us to handle them. You could train down that, but training up, what are you training your kid up to do?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And what are you teaching your kids to remember? Because it says even when they get old, they will not depart from it. What are you teaching your kids not to depart from?
And think about this,
that's good,
because you
Chac.
said you brought up the scripture, and it brought me to the scripture. I had to look it up just to make sure I was good.
Read
Psalms
it.
127, 4-5. But it basically talks about how children are arrows in your quiver. And they talk about, like, when you take that arrow out, you don't just, like, you're really, the parent is really in control where that arrow goes, right? Like, you don't want to just release it anywhere,
Yeah.
right? You actually have to sharpen your arrows. You got to protect your arrows. Make sure the head of the arrow ain't getting wet, it don't rust. And then when you do take the arrow out and you do allow it to go, you have to be able to point it in the right direction. And it should automatically just be able to go where it's supposed to go. Because
In a
you
word,
train them up.
intentionality.
Yeah, intentionality. Yep, exactly.
Intentionality.
You could hurt yourself with the arrow. Like, that's one thing I learned from just like camp and doing archery stuff. Like, they teach you to have when you shooting that arrow, this arm need to be out. Because if you got this arm too close to this, the feathers on the arrow will cut you. So if you're not teaching your kids how to shoot arrows in the right direction, where they shooting the arrows at, man? Like, what's their target?
Correct.
What target are you putting in front of your kids to shoot their arrows at?
Well,
Mm.
this brings me to a segue because I know we kind of just naturally because we're men and we like sports. We kind of made it like a sports on how we train our kids when it comes to sports and different things and what they want to be into. But I'm gonna hit it on the flip side, and I want to just talk about like even for me, like Chac had spoke on it a little bit earlier, but it was just like I'm also teaching my son how to respect women, and that's extremely important to me because I think that I don't want my son to be the one
Mm.
who feels the need to disrespect women.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell my son all the time, what do we not do? He'll tell you. We don't put our hands on women and we don't argue with them, you know? But also telling my son too, I'm teaching my son to be faithful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we was growing up, we was praised on
Don't put your
how
eggs
many
all in
how
one
exactly
basket.
how many girls you got or how many but again,
I got my Letterman jacket taken, my Pickerton Letterman jacket taken off me one night because my dad was like, "Said I seen you walk back up the hill and I seen about 10 different women looking at you. You went straight to your girlfriend." He said, "Man, y'all ain't no players. Give me the jackets."
but now
That sounds crazy, but
you gotta
like
ask
it
yourself,
is.
nowadays, can my son handle a heartbreak?
Mm.
Man, it's
Have we taught our children emotional regulation?
Come on.
Because life is coming
It
Mhm.
is.
and we don't know how it's coming
Mm-mm.
and we don't know when it's coming.
Exactly.
And with this generation, they have made crashing out, they have romanticized crashing out.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they have
Yeah.
toxicity. They have made it cool to do it, like to the point where it's crazy to hear, like especially with women, they like toxic dudes. Like they openly and say like, "Oh, I like my dude a little crazy. I like a little toxic." And then to be these dudes who, so they hear it, they crashing out thinking it's cute for the girls, but then they crash out too far sometimes, and they killing girls, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and a
Yeah.
young man too. Like we talked about it. Like I know this ain't a segment about sons, but at the end of the day, though, we all got sons, and we trying to just release some of this game in the air. Like with my son too, I'll be having to tell him like, bro, like he be crying, like you said, he's starting to verbalize too, like I'm sad, dad, or I'm angry, or you know what I'm saying. So I'm trying to get him to talk about the why behind it, which he don't fully understand yet. But I'm teaching him how to breathe now. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can be anywhere in the house, and if he's crying upstairs with my wife and my daughters, if he hear me say, "Man, breathe," he stopped crying instantly just off hearing me, and just that type of stuff. Like even having those conversations with
Mm.
my daughters too, like because I try to put so much into them
Mm.
with how I treat them and how I apologize to them as well. Like even my middle child, Mason, like Mason is Mason. Mason do her thing, how she do her thing, and I'm learning how to cultivate Mason and how she loves to do her. But there's been times where I've had to raise my voice at her, but God checked me on it. Like, if I raise my voice at you, how you gonna feel?
Mm.
Like, really, if God raised his voice at you, how would you feel? You know what I'm saying? And that's how it feel when you raise your voice at your kids. So, okay, in the moment you do it, but you got to go back and talk to them, explain the why behind what it was that made you upset, but also apologize in the process of raising your voice at them. Because at the same time, what type of targets are you putting in front of your kids?
Mm-hmm.
You
Am I
know
putting that target in front of my daughter to say that, oh, it's okay to let a man raise his voice at you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Like that type of time.
But that's
Bruh, you what's valuable in that though, Chalk, and this is what the Lord had to do with me because my dad was a yeller. Like I'm talking about boom and voice yell. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? And I picked that up and I used to use it in my mentoring, and the Lord was like, the more volume you gotta use, the weaker your voice is.
Hmm.
when your voice is valued, you really don't use a lot. When you think about it, like when you know your voice is valued, you don't really use a lot of value.
Correct.
It's when you feel like your voice doesn't hold that value, is when you boom and you start using that volume. But I buried both of my parents, and I think I read a quote somewhere. It said, we have to be careful how we speak to our children because the way we speak will be their inner voice later on in life.
Mm.
So when you said that about Suge, that man, breathe, keep doing that. Because it's gonna come a point in his life to where you're not gonna be there. His mama not gonna be there.
You gonna hear that voice.
He gonna hear that voice. Man,
Breathe.
breathe. I can hear my dad. I can hear my dad saying that right now. You know what I'm saying? It's certain things I can hear my mama tell me at times.
Mm.
Hey, there ain't even no need in you getting
I'm
upset
taking
about
that
this.
shot.
It ain't about to change nothing at all.
Yeah.
Like the way we speak to our children becomes their inner voice later on in life. I can attest to that. So that's why it's so important. I love when you said that, bro. Like that voice and volume thing, when the Lord really the voice volume, the voice, the volume, and the value, when he really taught me that lesson, it was a game changer for me.
Mm.
Cause it's like, bro, the more you yelling, you don't even think your voice mean nothing.
That's
You
what
know,
they
our
say.
kids don't even react to the same things.
Come on.
All like every kid is different.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, you know, I don't understand, you know, man, I think a lot of our old school parents had one solid way for you got 7 kids, every 7 kid going by these bylaws in this house. But it's even like the whole breathe thing. My wife does that with Zay. Like, cause he'll get like super angry and upset or something was going on. And this is like more so when he was younger, like he 4 now. So it's like when he was like 2, 3.
Mhm.
And you know, she would be like, I'll be like, what's up, man? Like, bro, like you need to say what you gotta say. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm bro, you know, just really impatient for real. And she would come in and she'd be like, blow out the candle. And she would treat his hand, her hand, like it was candles. And by the time he got down to the 5th candle, he could now gather himself and tell you what's wrong, what's going on. And it taught me so much, you know what I mean? Because I'm looking like, dang, man, like you said, that the louder you yell, it may stop some things right there, but it's very temporary.
Absolutely.
And not only is that like now it's like that's like the expectation, because it's not always later in life when they're gone that it's an inner voice. It could be that inner voice right here in the next room.
Man,
I'm not about to go to dad. I already know. You're gonna be like, what? You know, you ever had that moment you talk about like your parent, your kid describe you or something? You be like, I don't do that. Like, yeah, you do.
You do.
Because that's the inner voice about
my
you.
16-year-old daughter,
Dang, 16.
yeah,
Cass.
well, she'll be 16, and actually, she coming up. My baby girl,
That's crazy.
Cassidy Lee, is about to turn 16 in a couple of weeks. You know, but
That clock don't stop.
when I yell for her, and I had to catch myself. I was yelling at her. I just was going in on her. You know what I'm saying? Because she just wasn't listening. She was doing. She was like, in the middle of everything that I was saying, she just said, "Oh my God, Dad, just stop yelling." And I froze. And like you said, sometimes when you yelling, you don't even know what you're saying. You just yelling. You just making noise at this point. And
If
then
you consciously just step
yeah.
back and think about what
you
am
like,
I yelling
what
about?
am I yelling about?
Like, why
am
can't I just say this
screaming?
regular?
I can just say-
Like,
and this, but
Cause you be
again,
so hot afterwards.
come
too,
on.
Like, now I gotta breathe.
now I gotta go through.
Now I gotta
I
blow
gotta
the
do a
candles
breathing
out.
regimen.
Right,
Yeah,
now I gotta blow the candles
Yeah.
out. Like,
yeah. But no. But listen though, I'm letting y'all know. Hey, I'm still in the man breathe. And I'm still in the candles. Oh, the
Hey.
candles.
for sure I'm still
The
in it.
candles
But
is
you know
coming
how silly
home.
I felt though, but it works, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what I feel like parents. That you can't. Sometimes you gotta get past that first or second time doing it too. Because I remember the first time he was doing something and Megan was tied up, and I was like, "Hey, you gotta come do the candle thing." She was like, "No, you the candle man." I swear, bro, I was having such.
I don't got no candles, man. With a light.
I was having such a hard difficult time with it.
Yeah.
Like, come
Was
on,
it
Listen.
was
blow the
awkward?
candle.
Was it
Listen.
awkward the
Hey,
first
It was
time?
just
no.
real. It was real. I was like,
Come on.
blow the candle.
Hold on.
And when he got to like the fourth one, he still chair. I was like, you better be done by 5.
Listen.
Mom,
Hold on. You know what this?
Mom.
You know what that remind me of? Remember? Have y'all seen Liar Liar? Y'all ever seen Liar Liar?
Yeah.
And remember his stepdad was like,
Oh,
"What do I have?
The
The
claw.
claw."
Yeah,
And he was
Chac
just
used to
like,
do that
and he
with
was just standing there. He was just looking at him like,
He wasn't going.
man,
Yeah.
you don't get out of here, bruh. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
claw's
saying?
dead, man.
Hey, for sure.
My dad used to do the claw though.
but no, fellas.
That's
I
funny.
think though, for me though, what I've learned
No
from
doubt.
this is just my takeaways. One, apologizing to my kids more. My daughter, my son, being able to apologize and just let them know that I'm never too big to say that I'm sorry.
Mm.
I'm never too big to say I was wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes, like,
Can't be.
because I know I do sometimes when it comes to like my youngest daughter, Coco, like she does no wrong. You know what I'm saying? And she plays on that with being the youngest. So it's like if Cody come to me and be like, "Daddy, A3 just pushed me or A3 hit me. A3 get down here."
Right, right.
And but my wife always tell me, "Hey, ask questions. Don't assume." You know what I'm saying? So, but again, the apologizing, definitely gonna do more of that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? What
Yeah.
about you, Clee?
Hey, credit. Hey,
Hey.
my wife is a
Hey.
credit for
That the
she
candle
Meg. They
thing is
gave that to
crazy.
Megan. That's Megan's
Hey,
idea.
Okay,
shout out to
do she
Meg.
put her fingers down after you
Shout out
blow
to
the
Meg. Yeah, she-
candle out? Okay, there
5
we go.
breaths.
All right,
Yeah, you
gotcha.
know,
Yeah.
like the countdown type thing.
Hey,
Easy money. That's it for me, Chac.
Yep.
You can go ahead.
One thing it actually just reminded me, man. I haven't did this in so long with my kids, man. I'm gonna try to get back to it to at least once a month, where we had it was like, all right, everybody come sit at the kitchen table. No phones, no iPads, none of that. And set the table at like this with the kids, like, all right, Kenley, Mason, we're gonna give you the opportunity. Name one thing that mommy or daddy did that made you mad or that upset you. If
Mm.
it's one thing that we said, something we didn't do,
Mm.
and it's okay. Just say it. Just go ahead and get it off your chest right now so we can talk about it, because so then when they do those things, me and my wife, we have to listen very intentional so that on the flip side, we can, well, one, apologize for making them feel that way,
Mhm.
but also two, explain the why behind some of the things they
Yeah.
felt like didn't go their way. Because sometimes it don't even be nothing serious, or sometimes it was something that might have been eye opening. So just getting back to maybe a round table once a month, back to that with my family, letting the kids air out their grievances and being able to explain the why behind it so they can start processing things like that as well when stuff happen. Like, okay, think about the why behind this
Hmm.
before you do it, or why did it happen this way type of thing. So just getting back to family open discussions and focusing on that why behind a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
I think that's good, man. I want to leave just with like some practical solutions. You know what I mean? Just for some fathers that's out there that may or may not have some issues or different things going on. First thing first, pray for your family and
Mm.
pray
Oh,
with your family, man.
always.
Well, that's one thing that we started doing like last year, January. And it was just something I just said, I want to this year, every night. I don't care where we at. We at the hotel. I don't care if I'm away. I will call, FaceTime, whatever we got to do. We have to pray together
Mhm.
as a family as much as possible. I think that right there automatically shifts the atmosphere
Hmm.
in a home.
Because what they say, a family that prays together
Stays
stays
together.
together.
Train
Yeah.
up, man. Train up.
And then the second thing is what Chac said, listen and try not to judge. You know what I mean? Like, because it's so hard for us to not like put a label on something,
Mhm.
these days. But like, really listen to your kids, man. They really tapped in.
They
And the
is.
last thing you want is somebody else giving them advice in game that you really didn't want them to come by or come across. But if you're gonna have an open door policy, really have an open door policy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, And then I think the third thing is just the affirmations, man. Like affirm your kids, and make them affirm themselves daily. Like write down. Listen, I'm a man of affirmations. So one day, my wife, she knows that, and she gave me a whole jar. And I don't go in here. I only go in here when I need it. But whole jar of affirmations. And this is just, like I said, this is an idea. I believe this is something simple that everybody can do. Like this affirmation right here says, speak it, believe it, receive it. Um, I'll give y'all two more out of here. This is my favorite jar in the house, man. You are better than before. And then this one says, you are enough. And these are just gentle reminders, man. Like, this for me, I'm a grown man. This is for me. This is my affirmation jar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is where I come and I feel validated from my wife. So, sometimes that may not be your strong point. Sometimes you got to know yourself better than anything. You may not be the one that's like, I just know I'm too busy. It's not always the first thing on my mind is to say affirming things to my kids. Well, that was my wife. And my wife said, you know what? I got a simple solution for that. I'm going to give you a way that you can get affirmed from me every
And
day.
your wife wrote those?
And she wrote these.
Hand wrote.
That's
those.
awesome.
She sat out and she hand wrote these. And there's probably maybe like 80 or 90 of them in here.
That's
and
dope.
He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord.
You know what I mean? But this only came from her revealing to herself that I'm not good at something that my husband needs. I'm not good at something that my son needs. I'm not good at something that my daughter needs. And now let me find a solution for that, right? And it's just a simple mason jar full of just affirmations, man. Wow. So, this changes my life, man. When I'm feeling low and I need a word of advice, I come to there because it's straight from my wife. You know what I mean? Like if you got to also have somebody that you will accept the affirmation from too. Because not everybody we be trying to accept affirmation from. And so find somebody that you love, that if these words came from them, it's going to change the trajectory of how your mood could be, and do that, man. But this is a great conversation, though. It was a great conversation.
You just reminded me about a book I need to pick back up. I got, man. I started reading, but I put it back down. But it was changing my whole trajectory too. It's called What You Say When You Are Talking to Yourself by Chac, bro. Like the book is basically just showing you how to rewire your whole thought process, man. And it just give you so much, man. Like I'm gonna have to tap back into that. You just reminded me, so that was good, bro. That was good.
They got it on audio.
Audio, go to Amazon. It's on there, bro. Like I like hard copy books. I don't, but then audio too, like you said, because you be on the move so much.
Yeah, I'll
like,
be
you
on
just
the
want to
move
let it
so
play.
much. I
Like,
could just put it in the
but yeah, they got
headphones
an
and it
audio
could
too.
just.
Yeah, what to say when
No,
talking to yourself, bro.
I'm gonna
Like,
check that out with
I
you.
promise you,
Text
it's
that over
solid.
to me.
I
Put
got
it
you.
in the group. Put it in the group chat, and then I want to be able to.
I got you.
But I think lastly for me, before we get up out of here, I just think that change can start today. You know, it's okay if you're not doing the things. You know what I'm saying? Because not only are we just talking to our core audience, we are talking to each other. You know, we talk about that all the time. How much we learn from each other, just hearing different things. You know, so to our audience, we challenge y'all to just start today. You know,
Did you know that today could be day one?
did you know that today could be day one?
That's good.
Yep. So welcome to the new start, to the new you. The way that you affirm your children, the way that you parent, the way that you act different towards your household, your kids, how you speak to them, how you act towards them, how you respond to the things that they come to you. Because at the end of the day, we don't no none of us want our kids to be afraid to come to us with something. You know what I'm saying? And we don't want to wait till it's too late.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't want to wait till it's too late. So again, I challenge you all. Don't wait until it's too late. Start like Minister Cleo says, start today. You know what I'm saying? Today is day one.
Yeah, because up until this point, we've all parented out of, just like our parents before us, we've all parented out of what we think is best. And all parents, most parents, do the best that they can. But once we know better, we're charged at that moment to do better.
Mm-hmm.
So we all in this thing together.
Mhm.
But that's our time. That's the episode. Chop Shop. We out.
We out.
Sir, man, make sure y'all go run it up, man. Directors Den podcast on all platforms. And yeah, man, if you'd like to support what we got going on, reach out too, man. We definitely love to hear from y'all. Peace.
You ain't gotta pick me up. Ain't no hands out for free. We getting bigger now. We just try to live it up. Took a couple years to see. They get the picture now. Moments like Kodak. Tiny desk go Mac. Life before the net when people try to learn the